uninformed movie lovers. Today we are giving you a bonus episode. It's David and myself without that dumb guy Frank talking about The Umbrella Academy Season 2, which just dropped this last weekend on Netflix.
Oh yeah, man. It feels like what? It's been like 12 years since the first season came out.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
this was 12 years, but
I know it was like less than a year, right?
It's been like 2 years, I think, since the first season came out.
Has it been 2 years? Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because Brandon and I did a review of the first season, and we did those episodes in the comic. If it's not 2 years, it's like a year and a half.
Yeah, I feel like it's been so soon.
Really? Oh, I felt the opposite. I felt like the wait for the season's been forever. But now it's here, and I've watched it all in like a day and a half, and now I got to wait another year and a half for season 3.
Like for those watching, we're going to try and keep the first couple minutes as spoiler-free as possible.
Yeah.
We're just going to give our general impressions on it, a little bit of background. I watched the first season. I believe we did some coverage about it. I thought we talked about it a bit on the podcast. I might have been in on the Apollo City Comics discussion of it.
Might have been.
But I'm more of a surface level watcher, maybe like some of you at home. I remembered a lot of season 1. I think they did a really great job recapping it in the beginning of the season. I'm glad they put it in.
Although, to be honest, I wish it was a longer recap because there were some characters that I had kind of forgotten about. I hadn't rewatched the first season in anticipation for season 2. I just to be honest, I kind of forgot it was coming out. And then I just was like, oh, Umbrella Academy season 2's out. Let's watch it.
I think you're forgiven, David. There's been a lot on everyone's minds.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've just been really occupied with other things going on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, I was very much looking forward to season 2. The last season I thought was awesome. Season 1 was great. It was a really great impression of it for me. And like you said, I didn't also watch season 1 in prep at all. So I was just like, you know what? Maybe I remember enough. And as soon as the recap was starting, I was like, I don't think I remember enough of this.
Yeah, there was a little bit of just what happened again with this person? I actually went, while I was driving around, I popped on our own episode of our review of season 1. And I was like, okay, let me see what old me thought about this. And then I was like, okay, I remember this now. Season 1, I really enjoyed season 1 as well. I especially the last the last act, I guess, of the season. Definitely. It really picks up. It starts a little slow, but it's forgivable because I think Umbrella Academy does characters really well. Yeah. They have a lot of varied characters with different perspectives.
It's a bizarre story, to be real, especially in season 1. Are we talking about this season, how the arc went overall? Or
well, honestly, I feel a little bit about both. I think, overall, I would say my review of season 2 is positive. I think that it improves on almost everything. Yeah. I just think that in the first season, especially in our review that I was listening to with Brandon, we were talking so much about, this happens in the comic book and this doesn't happen and blah, 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 blah. But in season 2, man, it's almost completely separate from the comic book to the point where it's liked. What's the point of even talking about it? Because it's loosely based on Dallas, the second set of Umbrella, the second story, I guess, in the Umbrella Academy comics. But almost everything about it is completely new and new ideas, which I thought was cool.
It was fresh. I think a lot of it was really fresh. And I kind of figured that a lot of the stuff they were touching on wasn't in the comics for sure, even not having the comic knowledge. But it's just they added in a lot of relevant topics, relevant political topics, and relevant conversations that really kept it fresh and kind of gave you a perspective of how these fictional characters would interact with these situations, being faced with them. I thought it was awesome. I really do think in an overall picture of how season 1 and season 2 are, season 2 is faithful as a sequel for me. It's it does the same formula, almost hits all the same beats in a way, in a different fashion. It adds a lot to it at the same time.
Yeah, we both picked up on that for sure. Almost to a fault, I would say that they rehash so many of the plots of the first season where it's and I just don't want to get into spoilers yet, but it's some of the characters, the same exact thing happens, or at least it appears that way. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of flip it on its head towards the end, which is what I appreciated. I think if they hadn't changed enough, then season 2 would have felt like really dull and like retreading.
It could have just felt like a retread.
Yeah.
For sure.
But overall, I mean, they take the story in new places, and also, maybe we should just get into spoilers.
I think at this point it's really hard to not say. I'll just give you my overall. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
It flies by. The pacing is great. At first, I was just like, man, this is kind of arduous. I don't want to have to think about what happened in season 1. But I mean, by the second episode, you were like deep in it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And for you get invested.
For me, especially like, let's talk spoilers. For me, it's almost the beginning of the show. I was instantly.
Oh, are we spoilers territory?
Yeah, let's do it. Ooh, spoiler time. So in the first episode, we find out the Umbrella Academy has been taken back into the 60s. And then not just that, but in this weird like time warp problem, they're dropped off
which was caused by Five, right? Or by Vanya. Yes, but then also Five escaping the previous apocalypse.
So Vanya is causing the end of the world in season 1, and you can blame it on a bunch of other characters as well, like Luther, and I mean they all kind of have a problem. They all did something to help push that story, but Five teleports them through time, and he's never tried it with that many people, and I guess he overshoots it. Five doesn't have complete control of his time abilities, which is actually touched upon in season 2, and they kind of go into that, which is cool.
It's a great arc.
But basically, the premise is in this season they're dropped into the 60s, but they all fell out of the time portal like a year apart from each other,
which was really cool.
Super cool. I thought this was such an interesting time travel idea. This is what I'm talking about. None of this is in the comic book.
No, and so, it's a fresh idea overall.
Yeah, I think time travel's been done to death. You know what I mean? And there are some things they do in this that I think are just time travel movie tropes that cliches, are a little tired.
Kinda. Yeah,
there's this gag where like they keep making references to things that wouldn't exist yet. And in Back to the Future Part 3, it's funny when Marty is like, "Oh, I'm Clint Eastwood," and as the viewer, you're like, "Oh, like they don't know who Clint Eastwood is." This is funny.
Like the whole Klaus thing, like that with him being a clan. He's not a clan leader. He's a cult leader.
A cult leader, yeah. Very different kind of leader in the 60s.
Both have a group that is enamored with them.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
I guess we'll give him that.
But the teachings he's giving out are based off of lyrics in popular music.
Yeah,
throughout the 90s and 2000s.
He busts out some TLC. He busts out some Don't Go Chasing Waterfall. Yeah. And it's funny, but it's also like Five is also making jokes to the alien guy, like, "Oh, the truth is out there, man." And it's like, okay, how many more times are we going to get this joke? Some of them are funny and some of them really land. And that's a small criticism, but it just seems like the easy joke for time travel. You know what I mean?
There's a bit, I mean, if we're going, at least to braise the subject of just tiny little criticisms I have. I mean, one of my criticisms is that it had a great score. It had a great, it had a great soundtrack overall, and even the first season did. But some of the soundtracks, some of the songs chosen at the right time are just too on the nose.
Oh man,
for my taste.
We are so lined up right now. This is so funny. Well, like for me, the show starts off. We get the quick thing about them being split up through time. And then we see this alternate future where it's like 1964, but the Russians are invading. And then we see like the whole Umbrella Academy fighting. And
which was awesome.
It's set to that tune, Right Back to Where I Started From.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome song. It's appropriate for the time. But then the show, what I was getting revved up because I was like, this scene's great. The song selection's great. This is set in the 60s. We're just going to get 60s after 60s hit. You know what I mean? But then it's like the next episode they're doing Styx. It's like 10 years later already. They're doing like 70s music.
And then they have a bunch of modern ones that are
and then like covers. There's like a Billie Eilish cover.
Oh, that was the worst. I was just thinking to myself as soon as it happened, I knew we were going to talk about it too, because I was just like, the last thing that I think anyone wants is a ska version of Bad Guy.
It was weird, man.
And I was like, this is like a rock checker shoes, like fedora wearing version of Billie Eilish.
And here's the thing too, and like I don't want to dog on anybody, and for you kids that means to be mean to you, but Umbrella Academy has a younger audience. I think the audience starts with like 12-year-old girls, You know what I mean? And for some reason, and maybe it's just Gerard Way, maybe he has a thing about his art reaching 12-year-old girls, you know what I mean? Just like My Chemical Romance does.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a teacher, and a lot of my students talk about Umbrella Academy, and some of them I'll talk to about Umbrella Academy with and everything, at least the first season. But that's what makes me think of that Bad Guy song being added in.
Oh yeah.
Like, we have a bunch of younger audience, and this Billie Eilish song's really popular. Let's add this one in. Whereas I would have appreciated if they had just stuck with the 60s aesthetic, and maybe there would have been a bunch of music that people wouldn't have known. But that also that brings a great opportunity. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, bring that older music back.
Yeah, and that soundtrack exploded. There were songs that were like way up on the rankings that hadn't been there in years, because there was a lot of thought put behind that. But just a little disappointing. I mean, again, I'll get over it. It's and most of the time
it's minuscule.
The music is set really well. Like, it feels like the directors have experience in like music videos or something. Yeah, because it feels
the pacing.
The pacing's great, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much licensed music in the show. It's like every episode has like 6 songs or something. It's crazy.
Oh, it's either that or it's some cover of it. You know what I mean? And they do a lot of modern covers, which I didn't really like. Some of them were too stripped down and just boring. Yeah. But that's just my personal taste of what is already a good song.
There was another cover, too, that I can't remember what the other cover was. I wish I'd written more of these songs down. Actually,
I know. I should have taken notes on it, really.
Well, this is funny because who knows when this will come out, but we just recorded an episode on Armageddon and Deep Impact, and I took like maybe 3 paragraphs of notes, and I have pages on Umbrella Academy Season 2.
Well, one's much better to watch, really.
Well, I was trying to, because every time we talk about a TV show on the channel, it's like when I watch something 10 episodes back to back, I don't remember what happens in what episode anymore.
It's really hard. Yeah,
it's really tough. Yeah. So it was, man, if I find it, I'll let you know. But it reminded me a lot of Edgar Wright. It reminds me a lot of like Baby Driver, or like that scene in Shaun of the Dead where they're beating up the zombie to Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of attention put to that, like setting these scenes to music, and I think that is super cool. So,
yeah, I mean that just lends itself to kind of like what we were saying, where it's like the pacing over all of it was just, there weren't dull moments. You know what I mean? Even if it was just an emotional moment, it just like the pacing of every episode went well. I think that they did the same thing from the first season, in that they took every episode in kind of like, I guess it's kind of like a really good overall family dynamic of way of filming for these Netflix original things. Kind of they do it in the Haunting of Hill House too, but like where each episode will focus on what one family member did with their timeline. And then bringing them back to the group and kind of showing their individual struggle. And they did that in season 1 with this too. Yeah. But this was a really good enhanced version of that, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think they really tie it into where it's like, and it's got to be the way Netflix is editing these shows or something, where you finish one episode and then there's like 5 seconds and the next episode just auto plays.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but they got rid of like any kind of like title sequence. Like, it's always just the umbrella hidden in the background. But there's no theme song. Like, there was a theme song in the first season, but it's like,
there's only a theme song at the end of the episodes now.
Oh, that's right. You're right. It's a Gerard Way song too, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's like, now we want to make sure this is seamless. We want you to like sit and binge this thing. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, there's hardly a skip option. I think it's like 4 seconds now, if anything.
Yeah, but it's really funny. I mean, I think it was binge worthy. I saw this whole thing in like 2 sittings.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it was about 2 sittings for me too. And it was just no real effort. I mean, I had to stop myself and be like, okay, well now I got to go to bed. But like, you know, like,
yeah.
It was definitely, all of it was worth a watch.
Well, I guess we should talk a little bit about the characters.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring up one character real quick, and this is just another, minor complaint, but it's the character of Hazel. And that's in season 1, we spent a lot of time with Hazel. Yep. And we spent a lot of time with Hazel's love interest. And it was like, okay, this is going to pay off. And in season 2, he's going to be a bigger character. And he's not. They just kill him like immediately.
They show him in 10 seconds, maybe.
It seems like Hazel had a shooting conflict or something. You know what I mean? They got him back. He couldn't even shave his beard or something.
Or they just wanted to write him off.
I guess.
He just couldn't be there, yeah.
To me, though, it just makes the first season, it makes all that feel like wasted time, that plot line didn't go anywhere.
He could have been great.
And I liked the actor too. I thought he was a good actor and a good character. So
there's no saying that he can't come back. Yeah, like
that is the other thing though. He could always show up in season 3. It just seems bizarre to have a character. I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones. It's bizarre to have a character that you just get rid of for a whole season and then bring him back, and they're super important. It's like, oh, we didn't see this character for 2 years, but later he'll be the king of Westeros. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seems like a little bizarre.
Spoilers if you haven't been ruined by the rest of the world.
Everyone who's wanted to see it has seen it.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't at this point, you probably had someone ruin it for you anyway. But like Hazel plays an integral part. I mean, he helps set the solution to everything in motion, right? And I do. You're right. I miss Hazel. I mean, talking about, I guess I want to ask you, like, who's your shine out character of this season?
Oh, of this season, that's interesting. You know what? I think it's got to be Allison, which is weird because Allison was probably like my least favorite of the children.
I hated her in season 1.
In season 1, I was just like, I'm over this.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that in season 2, they didn't whitewash any of history. Like, no. Yeah. Allison shows up, she's black, in case you haven't watched the show and are listening to this review for some reason.
Right.
But she comes back in the 1960s and is immediately met with, like, segregation.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, and just racism. And I thought that was really cool to tackle that story, and it feels so relevant now.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
just
she's
the idea
part of a civil rights demonstration and a group, and she kind of comes into that because she's instantly persecuted and prejudiced as soon as she gets there. I thought her arc was great because in the first season they kind of make her very pretentious, and you kind of make her think like, wow, she really hasn't had to work much to get her power to do. I mean, she's used her power to her advantage. You know what I mean? Whereas in this season, she really didn't have the ability to, because her throat was slashed in the last season, and she's been recovering. And then there's the moral dilemma of should she use it to get what she wants.
This is awesome, man. I mean, there's such actual character growth. It's like I've learned my lesson from last season, and now I don't know if I want to be tampering with people's free will. And she only does it when she absolutely has to. But I thought that was so cool. Like it was, it's just good writing. So yeah, man, I was surprised about Allison. What about you? Who was your standout character?
Well, one real quick thing I thought at the end of it is like, if I was Allison, I would just invest in like a costume that has like a metal throat plate or something. Like if that is your kryptonite, getting punched or slashed in the throat,
or it's like,
you should probably wear a helmet.
Maybe you should invest in a bullhorn or something. You know what I mean?
Something.
It's like sometimes you need that crowd control going on.
You should make it so that no one can mess with your power, right? I mean, that's like number one concern. I had to get that out there. I would say, man, okay, so last season, I think that my standout character was Klaus. Obviously, he was everyone's standout character. Again in this one, but also, I mean, 5 is my favorite character.
What I love about 5, and actually something that just frustrates me about these characters, it's like, y'all already know from last year that 5 was telling you the information you needed to know.
Yeah.
And now you're going to make the poor kid have to drag you all through it again. Like, no one is just like, you know what, 5, you're right. Let me come with you and let me figure this thing out. Yeah. It's just like, geez, get it together, Umbrella Academy.
That was the tiresome thing. Was it just like, it's a rehash of let's get the band together. You know what I mean? Again, and I get it, but it worked better this time. But yeah, that's the criticism I had is like 5 did this thing last season, and now he's got to do it again. But I think the most interesting part of the season is 5 having to come to terms with himself. And I thought the whole
literally
himself, and the whole paradoxical thing of him meeting himself, and they did the shoot him, no shoot him, you know, like they did the Spider-Man meme in it.
That's one of my favorite scenes, the 5 versus 5 fight, and then when we get to see the time portal being opened up, and we like understand now why 5 is in a little boy's body, and like they really explain everything. The one thing I do have to toss some criticism on, though, is the literal fight between 5 and older 5. And I encourage
with myself.
Dancing with myself, which is like, okay, super on the nose. That was too much.
I know, that was one of those moments.
But if you guys, I encourage you to go back and watch this scene if you don't remember it this way. But they're teleport fighting, right? But they're just fist fighting and not moving. And then they teleport, and then they teleport somewhere else, and they're both standing there fist fighting again. That's not how you would fight when you teleport.
But then also, yeah, I mean, have they ever watched Nightcrawler fight? Or like...
Dude, I wrote that in my notes. I was like, X2, X-Men United had the teleport fight better than Umbrella Academy Season 2.
God, that is such a great instance of teleportation in a movie.
But then the weird thing is in the show, and this is a big spoiler, but we learn later that Lila, one of the new characters, has powers also, and that she takes other people's powers.
Not my favorite.
And in that fight, though, they do fight that way.
Yeah.
Where someone's taking a swing, and the other person teleports and is behind them, and it's like...
Or teleports into the swing and like gets punched. Yeah,
that's how a fight between two teleporting people would be. It wouldn't just be, okay, the two of us are boxing and we're just going to teleport together all over. It didn't make any sense to me.
I would have loved to see something like a portal loop. You know what I mean? Like the game Portal, where you just, you open a teleportation at your bottom and the top, like ahead of you, and you create all this momentum, and then you stop it and you just launch someone.
Yeah, that would be great.
But that didn't happen.
Did they do anything like that in the first season? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
They could play a little bit more with that. Yeah, they should.
But yeah, let's talk about this Lila character.
Lila.
I think is she part of the comics?
No. And this is interesting because in the comics, and I forget the exact number, so don't get at me, everybody, but it's something like 30 or 40 kids are born that day. And Hargreaves only adopts 7. So in the comic, it's like, well, there's got to be more people. You know what I mean? Where are the rest of these special children? Never explored in the comic book.
Interesting.
So I was super stoked that they brought this idea into light in season 2 because it makes so much sense to me. Obviously, there would be other kids. But Lila... At the beginning, Lila, I was really getting frustrated because I thought it was just going to be another love story between Diego.
Yeah.
And to me, that was my least favorite part of season 1.
Diego was my least favorite.
Oh yeah, where he's dating like the Commissioner Gordon character essentially.
Yeah.
Like that lady cop, and their dialogue was really bad, and I didn't care about either of them. I didn't like that at all about season 1.
And Diego's just such a cliche bomb in every part.
I love that line 5 has in this season where he's like, think Batman, but aim lower.
Yeah,
I was like, dang. I was like, dang, dude, you got him. That's exactly Diego.
Oh, he roasts everyone.
He does.
I love it. He really does.
He's a great
But
character. But
Diego's a little more bearable in this season for sure.
Everyone who I didn't like last season, I like a lot more this season. Yeah. And for instance, Luther, I dig the character. I think in the first season he has little to go on other than Dad sent me to the moon. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like the actor that much in the first season. I felt he was really clunky. Old Dick on Tarly.
Old Dick and Tarly.
But he's still a little clunky. I mean, I think he's just a clunky guy.
Yeah.
I thought he performed way better this season.
He did better.
And I thought the character had a lot more going for it too.
He rides this line of being goofy. Just so thin of a line of just being goofy, but
and it's the suit too. I think
the suit is too much at some point.
The suit's not helping, yeah.
But now that you have that established romance with him and Allison, you can see why he would have a motivation and why he would be down on this one and why he wouldn't care about things going wrong.
Yeah.
So they gave him more depth, but he's still one of the least interesting characters for sure.
Yeah, I think so. But anyways, back to Lila. It turns out that she's like a double agent. So mm-hmm. I was already like, okay, this is so much cooler than just here's another love story. Diego's going to fall in love with this crazy woman. And then it turns out she's like the handler's kid.
Yeah.
But we see at the beginning of the show in a somewhat off-screen shot that someone assassinates her parents, who I had assumed was Hazel. When I had watched that scene, it looked like Hazel's body, and I
thought it was the handler.
That's so funny. Well, it turns out that it's actually 5 as an old man, which is super cool. But yeah, Lila ends up being like essentially the 8th Umbrella Academy kid. She didn't go to Umbrella Academy, obviously, and she's got the rogue power where she can take other people's powers.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing. I mean, I understand it's great for the reveal to have her be a mirror. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I was also just like, I want to cop out.
I can see what you're saying. Like they could have made a more interesting power, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism. I enjoy it only because I didn't get the tease when she fought 5 the first time. I couldn't understand what was going on. I was like, she's teleporting? Why is she teleporting? And then I forgot about it for a few episodes. And then when it comes back at the end, I was like, oh, duh. Like, this is what's going on. Yeah. She can take other people's powers.
She has the power. Yeah.
Which I thought was...
when the Vanya thing happened, I was like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. What's happening? Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. Well, speaking of Vanya, though, let's go over to Vanya. So I got to approach this gently because I don't want to sound hateful. But it's funny because there's like a joke on the internet. I think a lot of people have realized it. That Netflix is like, oh, we have a new show. We have all these new characters. We got to make somebody gay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we got to do it. And a great example is actually season 1 of Umbrella Academy. They made Klaus gay. And he is not a gay character in the comic book. I honestly think in Umbrella Academy in particular, fine. Because there's almost no character development in the comic book anyway. That... the whole show, like every character, it's the show's creation. I did think it was weird that they wrote this thing in for Vanya in season 2, though. It threw me off a little bit. It's like, what is shoehorning and what is representation? That's my question.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Where is the line? But I think that season 2 of Umbrella Academy pulls it off to where the storyline actually feels like meaningful. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like. And an example is maybe. If you guys have seen, what is it, Lock and Key, they make the uncle gay in that show.
That's right.
He's not a gay character, but they make him gay, but he has no story for that. It's just like they wanted to do it.
They just wanted representation or whatever.
The same thing in Sabrina. They have like one of Sabrina's friends being like a trans girl, and it just feels like you guys are just adding this in, but you're not doing anything with it. Yeah. You're not telling a story. You're just like saying, hey, we're part of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. It feels like
pandering.
It's pandering. It feels like pandering. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I thought Vanya's storyline was pretty sweet in the second season.
Yeah, it was very wholesome. And it was also just, I didn't expect it to span over the entire season for sure. I thought it was just going to be like a little beat of it in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing with Harlan, like that really like resonated really awesome. I thought that was really cool. Storyline. But then... you got the dad from It being the villain, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Beverly's dad, right?
That's being right. Carl. Dang, that guy's typecast now as evil dad number 5.
He's got an evil face.
He does.
And, but yeah, you get to see their worlds intersect a little bit with him being in Jack Ruby's den when Luther's there and stuff. But the whole thing with Vanya is like, Vanya is an interesting and an uninteresting character at the same time. Because she's so flat. You know what I mean? And Ellen Page is such a flat actress or actor in general.
Well, I think she has a little more, but yeah, she's not super wide range. Right. There's a few movies where she really pushes something outside the limit, but I think Vanya is purposefully flat. Like she is kind of lifeless.
That's how it's written. Yeah. And it's interesting to see that this is another instance in the Umbrella Academy where Vanya or Ellen Page wears the exact same costume, exact same shirt, probably the entire season.
That's true. And maybe like the most straight up Back to the Future moment where she runs out and gets hit by the car and then gets taken home and taken care of by this family. True. I was like, wow, we're going hard Back to the Future with this one. Except in this season, oh no, she's got amnesia. Yeah. What do you do when a character has so much growth and you can't have them carry that growth over? Let's give them amnesia. It was like a little silly at the beginning.
Have them discover themselves again.
Yeah. But I thought it was pretty cool. I think the Vanya Harlan thing got confusing to me. She can bring people back to life.
She gave them his powers.
She gave him power and then she took it back. That got a little muddy to me, man. And that's... Sometimes I feel like when you stray from comic source material too far, or you like try and make up your own to supplement something, you get into this weird realm of like, I don't know if this is believable or not believable, but plausible in this universe.
Are there rules? Yeah. Are there rules in this universe?
Then? Are there rules and what are the rules? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you venture into Dragon Ball Z territory where people can die and dying doesn't matter. At some point. That's the thing. There's no consequence at some point. So
it doesn't matter when every planet has its own set of Dragon Balls and we can just fly there and get them.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Someone dies, it doesn't matter because we just get them back, or they can fight while they're dead.
Oh, but you can't make the same wish twice. But I'll just reword it. We'll just figure this out.
Yeah. It's like, that's, you don't want to get Dragon Ball Z rules in there because that's only one example of that working out ever.
Yeah.
But I just hope I see the seeds that season 2 has laid down at the end, which was just fantastic. But I do want to hope that season 3 does not climax at Vanya almost ending the world again.
Oh yeah. That's another thing too. Talking about like the retreading, it was like when they got to that point where they were like, "Oh no, it's Vanya who actually causes the end of the world." I was like, "No, guys, we can't do it again.
This is the exact same thing.
You can't do the same thing again." But then it turns out that they kind of stray away from it. It's like it's a red herring essentially.
Yeah.
So I think as long as they're smart about that, it'll be good. But yeah,
it almost got tiresome.
It almost got tiresome. It was on the line, dude.
And
for sure.
Who haven't we touched on? I mean, Klaus and Ben.
Ben, okay, yeah. So Klaus and Ben, they're a team for sure, right?
Yeah.
Klaus being a cult leader is like the funniest thing in the show, I think.
It was great.
It's so perfect that would happen. And then some of the best humor is like when he's trying to exit the cult and he's telling everybody, and they're just like, I am a fraud. Yeah, it's like
it was a Robert Paulson moment.
Yes, it's exactly what it was. It's straight up Fight Club.
And it was just fantastic. But like we were saying, like his teachings are based off of song lyrics from like the 90s and 2000s. Mm-hmm. And he has no stock in these people at all. But Ben, who's been around him, experiences love for the first time since he died as a kid. And like this is him growing with Klaus, and he was able to do that during the 60s, it looks like. And it's just good to like see some foundation in Ben. You actually see Ben's funeral in one of the episodes, which was awesome.
And we get to see how Ben has just followed him around as a ghost. Mm-hmm. Because that could be another question too. How come there aren't other ghosts just following people around? But it's like Klaus kind of summoned him in a way.
But Klaus his internal struggle is that he's worried that he brought him around for selfish needs. But Ben says he's stuck around, right?
Yeah,
just to stick around.
He stuck around because he was afraid of what was next.
Right.
With Klaus, we get more of the Dave storyline, which honestly was super sad in the first season. That was such a rough part where Dave dies. I need to edit together that scene from season 1 with some My Chemical Romance Ghost of You.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
When Dave showed up again in this storyline, I was just like, oh my God, I forgot that whole thing with Dave happened.
It's not the same actor either. I don't know if you noticed that.
No,
I did notice it when I was watching it. I like knew who the character was, and then I read later that they replaced him because he's supposed to be so much younger than he was in the first season. But that really just kind of tripped me out. I thought that was really cool, and I like where they're getting into this too, because the show definitely brings it back around. At this point in the show, I was like, aren't there going to be any consequences for these guys really messing with time? Yeah. Like everybody's being so flippant about just like Allison gets married. It's like, girl, what do you think? You can't get married in the 60s?
Well, and then, I mean, and even back on the Klaus thing, it's like, didn't Klaus meet Dave because of a rip in the tear of time fabric? Like he went into Vietnam for some reason.
Yeah,
entire time.
And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forgot how he ended up in Vietnam. I just remember him.
I tried to explain it to my girlfriend. I was like trying to explain it to Raven, and I was like, "No, he was in Vietnam." And she's like, "How was he in Vietnam if he was in 2019 and he's like 30 years old?" And I was like, well, it was another time rip in which he was in Vietnam.
He gets a briefcase, doesn't he? He steals one of the briefcases from the commission. But yeah, that's going to get really confusing because it gets into one of those, like, what are the rules of this time travel? Is Dave going to meet Klaus now, later? Because Klaus will always go back in time to Vietnam?
That's kind of what I thought they were alluding to the entire time, is that, like, they were always meant to go back to 1960s. Like, this happened before the timeline we saw in last season.
Although the end of the show does show us that, yes, we can change time. And, like, yes, you can change the future.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah, dude, what a cliffhanger.
It is awesome. I mean, should we talk about that a little bit?
Well, let's save that for the end. I mean, is there anything else? Oh, well, we get like the somewhat death of Ben, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he might come back again. I mean, well, he definitely is, but maybe the Ben as we know him will come back somehow.
Those were my thoughts. Like, as soon as he started disintegrating, because he's saying he's going to go towards the light, I was just like, man, that sucks. I just started to get to know Ben, and I really like Ben. And Ben is one of the most powerful people in the Umbrella Academy.
And he's like barely even a character in the comic book too. And this is one of the reasons why, like, to me, the show has superseded the comic book. Everyone is just so fleshed out. Everyone's like an actual character.
It's some real character development.
Yeah, for reals. There's some real stuff going on here.
Well, you get to see Ben fall in love and live through Klaus. He possesses Klaus for half a day maybe, and he's able to eat fruit and like talk to the girl he loves in Klaus's
body
cult, yeah and in his body, and you kind of feel for him in that moment. You're just like, wow, this kid's been dead for like 15 years or something like that, and he doesn't remember what it's like to be just sitting on grass or just touching soil, what I mean?
I thought that was a great performance by Klaus's actor too, like him nailing it. Have you watched The Good Place?
I don't think I have, no.
Oh, dude, okay. The Good Place is fantastic, and it's hilarious, but also super heady. It's about what happens when you die, and it's just like, man, so well thought out, so original. But there's this great episode, I mean, without getting any spoilers for The Good Place, there's this character, Janet, who's like a robot. She's basically like some kind of program. And there's an episode of The Good Place where Janet plays every character in the main cast, like at one point. Like she plays Kristen Bell. And what's the guy? Who's the guy in The Good Place? Man, he's the one. He's super famous. He's in Cheers. Ted Danson.
Oh, Ted Danson.
Yeah, Ted Danson's in there too. And when I love when actors play other people. You know what I mean? Where an actor has to act like they're someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really good. But Klaus, yeah, he nails it in this thing. I mean, is there anything else that stood out to you this season that you want to talk about before?
I think, yeah, before we get to the closing parts of the season, I say, I mean, we got to talk a bit about old Reggie Hargreaves.
Oh, yeah, man.
What is this? Is this... Okay, so let's talk about the scene. There's, well, man, how do you even approach this? So, the Umbrella Academy encounters their father in the 60s. He's, like an aristocrat. He's still like on the forefront of many things. He's known for having crazy technology. He's making these weird meetings with a New World Order society in ways, essentially. Mm-hmm. And they're led to believe that he has something to do with the assassination of President Kennedy. I mean, through all of it, they just kind of realize that he doesn't know about them, and he has no intentions. Yeah, he has no intentions of having kids. And I mean, gosh, how do you get to the? We got to get to this insane hint.
Oh yeah. Well, basically, we find out, and this makes a lot of sense in a weird way. The reason why he knows about all this technology and everything is because he's an alien. He's not from.
He's an alien. He's like a reptilian alien. There's a scene where he kills the New World Order society that was in him because. Why does he kill them? Because of John F. Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah, they were. He didn't want Kennedy to be killed.
Right. Which
is also very clever because Hargreaves comes off as just the worst dad in the world in season 1, and then we learn in season 1 that he actually really loved Vanya, and here's all these ways that he was trying to make her life good. He's doing the best he can. And in season 2, it's like they put it the whole time that he's trying to kill the president, and you don't want to do that to the character. You want to be endearing, so they made sure to make sure everyone knew. No, he didn't want to kill JFK. He just wanted to interrupt, a little bit.
Exactly.
But again, and I don't want to make this just a whole comic book comparison episode. In the comic book, they just flatly tell you that Hargreaves is an alien, and there's no suspense behind it.
In the beginning of it?
In the beginning, in the first issue. And there's no mystery. It's just in the comic book, it's all about being wacky and weird.
Right.
This alien dad adopted these kids who have superpowers.
Okay. This is a much better way to go about it.
Exactly. This is a much better way to go about it. In a way that's wow, this is crazy. This is a revelation.
It threw me for a loop. I remember just watching it and, quietly, and, Raven was my girlfriend was passively watching it with me. And then I just remember saying, what the expletive, you know what I mean? And then I went back and watched it 3 times, and I was like, are you seeing this? And she's like, I don't get it. And I was
yeah, I'm guessing she didn't watch season 1.
No.
Okay.
She liked it. I'd say she was okay with it.
I mean, I honestly, I would have a hard time watching season 2 without watching season 1.
Right. There's a lot to explain.
Because it's so connected. Yeah. And the world is confusing. Yeah. She should go back and watch the first one.
This was just something that like caught me out of left field. And I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. This is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. I felt the same way about the fish guy. I thought that was so funny.
AJ, right?
Yeah. He's just like a talking fish. That really cracked me up. And when Five ends up like killing all of those people later, that was good. Like,
and he swallows AJ.
Yeah, and then he delivers the fish nemesis to the handler. Man, that's some good stuff. The commission's really funny. I really enjoyed when Diego is getting recruited for the commission, and they straight up have this like "Welcome to Vault 101" scenario. It's like even the same kind of art style that I thought.
The
was
orientation
really
video.
Yeah, the orientation video. It seems very Fallout. And one other thing that I picked up that I just thought was like different and kind of funny was, what do they call it? The steps of time paralysis, or what is it?
Paradoxical
psychosis. Yeah, the stages of paradoxical psychosis.
Flatulence and sweating.
Yeah, it's like sweating, flatulence, itching. And then the last one's like bloodshed or something.
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh yeah, maniacal rage or something.
Yeah, maniacal something. But it just has such a jump, and he's like listing these things.
Yeah, he's like sweating and itching, and then it's just like flatulence, and then it's like hallucinations. Yeah. It gets crazy, and that was a really great part to see Five interact with himself too. That was awesome.
Man, I mean, there's a lot going on in this show,
and this season particularly really just goes off the rails.
Oh, this is a little bit off. But we did miss some characters, and it's the Swedish guys who were like hunting them. There's like 3 Swedish brothers.
Dude, the entire time I was like, what is happening with these dudes? Why do they keep showing up?
The end of episode 7, when they bring up the Backstreet Boys.
Oh my god.
And they set that scene to the Backstreet Boys, and then like while they're playing Backstreet's Back, Allison tells one of the brothers to kill his own brother. And then he it was like the darkest thing you could have ever said to Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, it really was.
And I was like, wow, this is why Allison's power is really messed up. She's just like destroying this guy's free will and making him murder his brother.
And it's funny because in the moment when I saw that scene, I was just like, okay, well, why couldn't you have just completed the sentence and be like, I heard a rumor you killed your brother and then killed yourself. And I was like, why didn't she do that? Now this guy's a looming threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the ending episode comes around and I'm like, okay.
Or I would have even done something like, I heard a rumor that you kill the person who sent you to kill me or something. You know what I mean?
Something. Yeah.
Like, I feel like Allison doesn't think through these. That's a wormhole of a superpower to like, because
you could solve everything.
You could solve everything, but I feel like there'd always be an unintended consequence. That's what I love about the power, is that it's written in such a way that it's not super easy. It seems super easy.
Right.
But every little thing that you tell someone to do is like, wow, well, all of this other stuff happened now. Or now I got to brainwash this person too.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy stuff.
And then the last remaining Swede shows up at the end too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
well, we should talk about that climax before we talk about the cliffhanger.
Right.
Because basically, long story short, the handler's just trying to kill Five because Five's made her look really foolish.
Well, and then she's also trying to take over the commission.
Yeah, and now she's trying to take over the whole commission. And they basically send like hundreds, maybe thousands of agents. And it was like, I was honestly worried for a second that this was going to be some like Avengers like Endgame style ending. I was like, I don't know if Umbrella Academy feels right for this.
Yeah.
But really, those guys are only around for a second.
They were just cannon fodder. I mean, that's all that was.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, dang, how many agents does the commission have? Like, they got to be hurting.
Left over now, yeah.
Because Vanya's killed, like, most of them. But we get the fight scene with Lila versus the Umbrella Academy, essentially. And basically just a bunch of revelations. You know, like, no, actually, the handler's the one who killed your parents because she wanted you because you're powerful.
Right.
In a kind of the same thing that Hargreaves only got those kids because they were powerful.
Right.
But that's more or less the finale. I mean, honestly, the Harlan thing is confusing to me. I wish they hadn't have included Harlan getting powers. I don't know either. She brought him back to life, so he got a part of her.
And then he can't control it because he's autistic or he's on the spectrum. I guess that's why he can't control it. I mean, also he's a kid with the superpowers.
And he's also afraid. I guess he has some of the same issues that Vanya has. Mm-hmm. In a way, he's kind of like a reflection of her in the past. But yeah, and then, well, the cool thing too is we did get that hint, pretty on the nose hint of Hargreaves telling Five earlier in the season, well, sometimes a few seconds is all that matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everyone dies, and then he like time travels back a few seconds. This happened in a movie. And I can't remember which one it is.
Is it Looper?
I don't know. I haven't seen Looper. Something like this happens at the beginning of X-Men Days of Future Past, where the Sentinels are hunting down the X-Men.
Yeah.
And every time the X-Men get murdered, Kitty brings time back a few.
I think that does happen in Days of Future Past.
But there's something else too where they have to. It happens in Galaxy Quest. It happens in the end of Galaxy Quest, man.
Yeah.
Where the whole crew gets killed, and then they find out that huge, whatever they called it, whatever the ridiculous name was in that movie.
You know what? I'm putting this down on the record now. We need to do a Galaxy Quest CLE. How have we not done that?
I don't know either. Well,
Galaxy Quest is fantastic.
We have. I think it was before you came aboard. We did a movie quest on satiric comedies. And Galaxy Quest was on there. But I am going to add this while we are talking on this episode because I will forget later.
Y'all, for those who haven't seen it, Galaxy Quest is an amazing movie that satires the Star Trek phenomenon, starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and so many other people. Alan Rickman.
That's a great movie, man. If you're like, I don't know, if you're like 15 years old and you're only watching this because you love Umbrella Academy, go check out Galaxy Quest. I saw that movie before I ever watched Star Trek. I'd never seen Star Trek before, but I still got what they were doing because it's such a pop culture, phenomenon.
And it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just a great movie.
Great movie, yeah. Really, really funny. The late, great Alan Rickman. But anyways, so then we get to the end where the Umbrella Academy has time jumped away from the 60s. They've stopped whatever potential Red Dawn apocalypse that was going to happen then. And they get back and they find out that their dad's still alive. And they're like, what? And then the dad recognizes them, assumedly, because he remembers them from the 60s. And then we find out that he has the Sparrow Academy with a bunch of, I'm guessing, other kids. And Ben.
There are silhouettes up on the second floor looking down at them, and we are not able to tell who the silhouettes are. And then there's an evil-looking Spider-Man 3 Ben.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, he's like emo Ben. You're right. He has a little swoop. Oh, yeah, they Spider-Man 3'd us. He's like doing that little dance move too. He's doing that same little hip gyration. You got to go back and watch the episode. It's really easy to miss.
Last week, this is just kind of on topic, off topic, but like last weekend, Spider-Man 3 played like 7 times on like TMC or something. Oh. And every time I would turn the TV on.
TCM?
TCM, I'm sorry.
Turner Classic Movies? Spider-Man 3 is playing on Turner Classic Movies?
It was one of those channels that just plays movies all days. Maybe it was USA. I don't know.
I hope it was USA. I haven't seen Turner Classic Movies in a long time, but I hope things haven't gotten that bad.
It was just... And every time that I happened to like in an interval, go back onto like that channel, it is the dance club scene. It was always the jazz club scene. And that scene is laughable. It is so bad. If you kids haven't seen it, it's just...
I'm sure I told you about this, but when that movie came out, I was friends with these two brothers. And I asked my mom to go to the movie theater that morning to buy tickets for Spider-Man 3 because that's how you had to do it back then. Well, anyway, she called me at school during the day and was like, hey, I got you your tickets, but they only had 2 left.
Oh my
God. I had already told these 2 brothers that we were all going to go together, the 3 of us. So instead of doing the honorable thing and like, here you guys are brothers, you take the tickets, I was like, well, who's going with me? So like the older brother
wanted to go get it. Yeah.
So the older brother ditched the younger brother. We left. We went to go watch Spider-Man 3 and talk about instant karma, man. Talk about instant karma. That's what I get for leaving a friend for Spider-Man 3.
Oh, man. I'm sure as soon as it started, you were just like, oh, no.
So what are your predictions for Umbrella Academy Season 3?
Well, I really hope that they are completely different actors. If they're not completely different actors, that would be super interesting. If it was different actors, different powers, like they're just a group of 7 different people, or if they are the same 7 people and they just have each other's powers, or they have new different powers, would be really interesting.
I think it has to be different people, and I'm guessing this because the silhouettes, they had different powers. I thought I saw someone with a fireball or something. There was something in the silhouette. Someone was like, had some kind of energy or something.
I need to watch that. I didn't go back to that scene.
Yeah, I'm sure IGN's done a video where they've watched the last 5 seconds of Umbrella Academy season. We've made a 25-minute video of our speculation.
Still by still.
Still by still. But to me, even if they changed the future, when they were born, they would have the same power. So it only makes sense that it would be other kids. And I would think that Hargreaves is like, I don't want those 6 who I met.
Right.
So I'm going to pick these other kids. And Ben is one of those because he never saw Ben.
Ah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? But what I don't get so far is that Hargreaves... I feel like Hargreaves is smart enough to trust himself and knows that if he already picked the Umbrella Academy, why would he change his mind?
Right, they'd be a sound choice.
Unless like the wife dies or something?
Or this is just a different timeline. You know
Who knows? Maybe
he never met them in the 60s.
Maybe there's a alternate thing. But what I got from it was all that meddling they did in the 60s had catastrophic effects on the future, and now the world will not be the same.
It's like a butterfly effect thing, it looks like. And I'm down for any of those options. When I saw it, I was just like, that's a fresh take.
That is.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I'm down. And by fresh take, we mean Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm super stoked. I am bummed that I'm just going to have to wait a while. I think next time Umbrella Academy comes out, though, I need to go back and watch Season 1 and Season 2 back to back.
Yeah.
To really get into the rich lore.
It's going to be a while. Not only just production-wise, but no one's filming right now.
Oh, yeah.
And, wow. Yeah, it'll probably 2 years down the road, I'd imagine.
I think so. If you really like Umbrella Academy, I just got to say my recommendation, and this is like, we've never done this on the channel before, but if you really liked Umbrella Academy, maybe check out Lock and Key if you haven't yet. I feel like the audience would be similar. Kind of a magical story about a family. And then a weird oddball one, the Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like Umbrella Academy's got so much of that dysfunctional Wes Anderson family. So if you've never seen Royal Tenenbaums, what's wrong with you? But go see it. It's delightful. And I think if you love the family dynamic of Umbrella Academy that's in the show, you'll dig that about Wes Anderson.
Definitely. Also, it's just a movie you should see.
It's just an amazing movie also.
Movie. Yeah.
This is like me suggesting Jaws. Like, if you like spooky ones, go see The Exorcist. Little known picture.
Well, I think that just about covers it for Umbrella Season 2 for us. All in all, it's a great watch. You guys should give it a chance. Please subscribe to this video. It helps us out a lot. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. David and Frank and Beans. Check out Apollo City Comics. And check out David's Rockin' Umbrella Academy mask.
I can't see anything now, though. That's the only problem.
Until next time, we'll see you guys here. Thanks for tuning in.